New Orleans was a lot of fun to dig around in. They don't have as many record stores as you would imagine. I'm spoiled here in Portland where we have well over 20 stores in town. New Orleans had about, I don't know, 5 or 6. I didn't hit every single one, but I hit a good amount of them. And I want to show you my haul because I definitely got some records that I didn't expect and some really cool stuff as well. Louisiana Music Factory was a great shop, pretty big dig. They also had a lot of CDs and t-shirts and things like that. I will say that their used selection of records wasn't amazing. There wasn't a ton of stuff and the quality of the stuff was kind of mixed. I didn't find that many gems in the bins. A lot of kind of fodder, as I like to call it. But if you do the thorough dig, you can find some good stuff. Ultimately, the things that I took for the most part were ones that were on the wall. And I did think that their wall records were often a little on the high end in terms of the price point, but I did find a few things that I thought were pretty cool. This is a record called Aquarian Dream Fantasy. And I never heard this record, but I have heard of it. And it's apparently a really good soul funk record. I'm super stoked to give it a listen. It's not like the absolute cleanest copy, but that's what the degridder's for. And then I was curious about this one. It was a sealed funk record from the 90s. This came out in 1991. It's called Bad Mother Goose and the Brothers Grimm, Tower of Babel. I know nothing about this, but I was really excited to give it a listen. It wasn't that expensive, and a sealed 90s record is kind of hard to find, so I figured it was worth at least grabbing to give it a shot. The record that I did not expect to see, and one of my favorite finds of the entire trip, was this. The second album by Cute Is What We Aim For, Rotation. Now, they're known for their first record, which is their magnum opus. It has the big single, The Curse of Curves, which is probably how you know this band. That's definitely their biggest song by a landslide. Really saccharine pop punk, sugary, really high energy, really emo, really whiny, but also incredibly catchy. This record is not nearly as beloved as the first record, but it is also extremely hard to find. I've had it on my want list for a very long time, and I've never seen it really pop up for sale. I was really shocked to see this on their wall amongst all of the other interesting funk, soul, jazz, blues records that were adorning the wall. It was just kind of this sitting there, and I was like, what? The price was actually pretty good, so I decided to grab it because I've never seen it in the wild. I like this record. I don't love it as much as the first one, but I think it's worth owning. And then there's Domino Sound Record Shack. This store was amazing. I mean, this is a must hit if you go to New Orleans, for sure. I learned that it's a sister store, kind of Mississippi Records here in town, which is one of my favorite stores in Portland as well. So they focus on a lot of interesting jazz and world music, and I was just blown away by the selection. From reissues to original presses of things, there was an onslaught to get through. It was a small store, but it was packed with gems. I also thought the pricing was extremely fair. Let me show you the mix of what I got. A nice copy of Joni Mitchell's Blue. You can never have too many of these. I always put it in the store. It always sells. People are always asking for it, but it doesn't get traded in that often. So if I see it out for a good price, I always grab it. 2 albums by MF Grimm. We have The Hunt for the Gingerbread Man and You Only Live Twice. MF Grimm is an affiliate of MF Doom, at least for a part of his career. They worked together a lot. Eventually, they kind of had a falling out and split ways, but MF Grimm is an amazing MC. I really think he's underrated, and not all of his projects are fantastic, but these are great, and I don't really see them that often, so I picked them up. This was an interesting one. I grabbed it just on a whim. This is a Dracula compilation. I grabbed this because it looks like it's just horror-related songs from a bunch of different bands. I mean, we have Annie Lennox, Peter Tosh, Blue Oyster Cult. I don't really know what this is, but it looks like just like a horror compilation. I don't know. It just seemed cool. It was really cheap. I think it was like $12, and I'm very curious to hear it. I could not return to Portland without Professor Longhair, and this is New Orleans Piano. I was excited to find one of his records. Another record I didn't expect to see is TSOL, Change Today. If you're into kind of the heavier stuff, the punkier stuff, the darker side of things, TSOL is great, and this is one of the records that I've never seen in my shop, so I decided to grab it. Billy Woods is a masterful rapper that a lot of people like who are into underground rap, and this is the instrumentals of one of his beloved records, Aethiopes. I've never seen this out in the wild. I know it was a fairly limited run that I think sold out pretty quick online, but yeah, to see this in the wild was awesome, and it's on green vinyl. And then a copy of this later album by The Crystal Method. Another one you don't see very often. We got a lot of electronic fans here in Portland, and I feel like this is for them. After that, we had Euclid's iconic staple of the New Orleans record store scene. They've been there for a long time, and I walked in, and I think it was the owner or the store manager, I forget which one, but he recognized me from my videos. Super nice guy. We talked for quite a long time. Really was interesting to kind of share thoughts and tips and ideas about owning a record store. Now that I've been doing this for a few years, I feel like I have some knowledge under my belt, so it's cool to be able to talk the talk with a legend of the scene. And Euclid, you know, I've ordered from their online store before. They do new and used online, which I think is pretty cool. And it was really exciting to dig through their shop. They have so much in their shop. It is kind of overwhelming, to be completely honest. There's an upstairs and a downstairs, and the upstairs has a massive discount section that is actually worth digging through. And then there's also a bunch of jazz upstairs and soundtracks and a bunch of 7 inches that are well organized. Downstairs is just a chaos of all the other genres. I mean, they had soul, funk, hip hop, rock. It was a massive undertaking. I was there for probably 5 hours with a coffee break in the middle, and I got a bunch of good stuff. Took a chance on this early press of Dorothy Ashby, the Jazz Harpist. This is a record you don't see very often. Looks like a dog got to it. Someone bit the jacket through, but this record is beautiful. If you don't know Dorothy Ashby, amazing harpist who does kind of like, eventually it gets a little funky and a little kind of out there experimental, but just beautiful music throughout her entire career. And this is such a desirable pressing of this record. It was priced pretty low because it is definitely marked up. And I took a chance saying, I think it'll play through without skips if we degrid it. And I ran it through the degritter, and there are aspects of the record that are kind of like poppy, where there's like the occasional pop happening in the music, slightly distracting, but there are no skips. And there are songs on here that play VG+, which is mind-blowing for the age of this record. So that was, I think, a good buy. It's a record that Goose keeps trying to get me to get, so I decided to get it. This is the Robert Glasper Experiment, Black Radio, and the Deluxe Edition. So this is kind of like a hip-hop and jazz fusion album featuring a ton of iconic artists. This record is one that I didn't get for like a crazy deal, but I saw it there. The price was about what it goes for, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna get it. The Curious George soundtrack featuring Mr. Jack Johnson, super great songwriter, and this is one that doesn't come through very often, but I know has super high demand. So I saw this in the bins. I was like, I think someone in Portland would probably dig this. This one was expensive, and I got it kind of as a piece to bring somebody in. More than make a bunch of money on it, because I don't think I will make that much on it based on what I paid. But that being said, we don't get blues very often, especially like OG original blues or early pressings of blues. It just doesn't happen. This is the Blues of Lightning Hopkins. This is a 61 mono, and it plays without a degrit, probably close to VG+. So I'm excited to hear how it sounds after we clean it up. This is probably something we'll put out for the 3-year. Very, very cool record. I'm sure a blues fan is going to see this and lose their mind, but very awesome to find this. And then this is a funk record that you don't see that often either. This is Chicken Lickin' by Funk Inc. It also was one I wanted to trust to degrit better than it appeared to be. I'm excited to give it a listen. I've been really loving listening to funk for the past couple years at the shop, and this is a record I've heard about but I've never seen in the wild. And this one was fun because someone was walking in with a trade as I was there digging, and he pulled this out. This is a live album by the band Parcels, an indie band with some kind of disco elements to them. Really, really good band, and I have never seen this because it's really hard to find in the States. I guess this guy imported it and then he traded it in, and I asked the gentleman at Euclid, I said, hey, would you possibly price that? Let me take a crack at it. And he priced it extremely fair, especially knowing that you have to pay overseas shipping to be able to get this anyway, and he let me get it. So shout out to him. But I will say, one of my most surprising and favorite digs throughout all of New Orleans was not actually in the city proper. I had to go closer to the college campus, where there was a shop called Mushroom Music, I think. Maybe not Mushroom Music, Mushroom something. You go upstairs, and when you first see it, it kind of just looks like a head shop. There's a bunch of t-shirts, a bunch of paraphernalia, just, a very stonery vibe. And then you go into the back and you see, oh, there's some records. There's a couple, racks of new records. I'm like, oh, cool, some new records to flip through. Then you go into the corner of the store, and there is a huge amount of used records across all genres. And I was digging there for hours. They had some fantastic records at really, really good price points. Like, overall, everything I bought, I was shocked at the price. I was like, how is this so cheap? Found some really, really good stuff for myself, for the shop, but here's my haul from Mushroom. It's really cool. Nina Simone live in Europe. Don't really get a ton of early Nina Simone pressings, so always good to grab one if you see one. The DMM pressing of U2's The Joshua Tree, arguably the best sounding version of this record, and always one that sells in the shop whenever we get it. I had to get a little meters while I was in New Orleans. You get, one in Rome, right? So I got Fire on the Bayou. This is an early press. I don't know if it's a first. I haven't checked yet, but the price, again, was right. This is a desirable soundtrack. This might be sold by the time this video goes up because I think we're putting this out for Record Store Day, so I apologize if you just see this now. But this is the soundtrack to Conan the Destroyer. And while this sleeve has had a destroyer of its own, the actual disc looks really nice. And this is a very desirable soundtrack. Could not believe I found this in the bin for what I found it for. I always grab this One Nation Under a Groove Funkadelic whenever I see it. I see one right there behind me. It's in Ben's picks right now. It doesn't always sell right away at the shop, but I will say this is a record that's always good to have. It's one of the best Funkadelic albums. I never know if it's Mr. Liff or Mr. Life, but this is Mr. Whatever, I Phantom. Really, really good rapper. He often collaborates with Thievery Corporation, and he has a great solo career on his own. And this is a record that used to be readily available, I believe, and now it's kind of hard to find. So was excited to see it in the bin. Another great hip-hop album. I was surprised to see a first press of Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor. There's been a VMP pressing of this, I believe, but I know hip-hop heads want the OGs, and here it is. Speaking of VMP presses that have OGs, Idea and Abilities, Firstborn. VMP did a version of this, but again, if you want the cred, you gotta go with the original, and I was really surprised to see this in the bin as well. So that is my haul from New Orleans. I had a really great time. I ate my way through the city. The bachelor party was a lot of fun that I went to New Orleans for before I had my few days of digging after the fact. And yeah, I'm just excited to go back. It's a great city, one of my favorite in the US. I think they could use a few more record stores. Maybe, just maybe, another TMR location could be there in the future. I have nothing planned. That's just a fun idea. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you leave a comment with your thoughts on any of the records that I found and your thoughts on New Orleans. And I will be happy to chat with you all in the comments below. So thanks so much for watching. More coming soon. Take it easy.